Welcome back to the PDGA Amateur World Championships, presented by Toyota. 2022 World Championships, kicking things off here at the Princeton Country Club in the Evansville, Indiana area. That's Brian Wilson, a member of our feature card today. I'm Grant Zellner from the PDGA alongside Paavo Stubstad, my new friend, enjoying watching some disc golf today.
Excited to see this back nine. The front nine was pretty challenging for the players, but the back nine has a lot more par threes, a lot more scoring opportunities, so I'm ready to see some birdies.
Starting things off here on hole number 10, a par 3, 327 feet. Plays down and to the left with OB on the left, the tree line there to the left. Definitely OB. A Mando on the right, so a sort of narrow gap forced by the contours of this hole.
You know, the Mando really changes this hole in a way that makes it a lot more interesting to watch, because it would just be a basic hyzer without that Mando, and it forces that up the gut shot, which is something you don't see too much of on ball golf courses. I like it.
Here's Ilken Groh off the tee, the only player under par through 9 holes on our feature card, but he has gone directly out of bounds.
Yeah, that was significantly overturned.
Elliot Bautel now, rocking the fedora. Seemingly a similar line to Ilken's, but he had the angle much better and rewards himself with a circles putt.
A little less Anheuser, a little more stable of a disc, combination of the two, and he's in the circle.
This is Brian Wilson making a similar mistake to Ilken's.
And that one ends up out of bounds as well.
And finally, Chance Stad of Vancouver, Canada. Counting on the skip, but hitting one of the only trees there up the left side.
Here we see Ilken taking his relief from where he went OB. It's going to be kind of a tricky upshot here, given the slope of the green.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier when you can jump putt from that far. There we go.
Brian Wilson also, his meter relief off the OB line. Similar upshot coming for Brian.
And you see Brian had to go with more of a throw. It's not many players that can jump putt from, over 100 feet like that.
No doubt about it. Chance Stad now, keeping things safe.
Little forehand chip shot. Don't roll too far. That's not bad.
Elliott now with the birdie.
Great drive, great putt. Short hole, but tricky.
Chance to save par. Does so.
And despite being only 327 feet and downhill, this hole still averaged over par by 0.11 strokes.
Interesting.
That Mando and the trees, the low ceiling, the OB, it adds up.
This is one of those holes I expect we'll see played better when we return to the Princeton Country Club here in a few days.
A lot of players making adjustments off of their mistakes from round one. Absolutely.
Elliott carding the lone birdie on the card here at hole number 10, and we're off and running on the back nine here during day one. Hole number 11, 262 feet, a par 3. This a chain of shorter par 3s that sort of opens the back nine here at the Princeton Country Club. You're playing up and over a mound and then back down slightly to the left.
And once again, that OB line on the left that we saw on holes 10 and holes 9 is also in play here on hole 11.
Elliott smartly out wide to the right and then counting on the contours of the area around the basket to just sort of act as a backstop for that disc. Here's Chance following a similar path, but needs this disc to get down.
Sit down. Nope. Oh, it skipped over into the OB.
Just trickles into that taller grass there. Ilken Groh now looking to make up that lost stroke.
Wider line there. That's definitely not going OB. Didn't get much hyzer, though, so that's kind of way wide. He might be about 40 feet there.
Mm-hmm. Brian Wilson now.
That line looks good. Oh, that's actually a little too much power.
Deep.
Good line, just
Goes
put a little
deep.
too much on it.
Deep and down the hill. So nobody in tight despite the short overall distance.
Got to give a
The
shout
par
out
3 11th.
to Chance's umbrella there. I love that watermelon umbrella. Oh, Brian just a little high there.
Ilkin.
So close.
Just off with the step putt. Says he adjusted his step putt just a little bit since the U.S. Amateur Championships. Wants it to be more obvious to his card mates and himself and anybody else watching that he's trying to keep that step putt on the legal side. Had a few putts there at the end of his round that were really close.
Great putt there from Elliott to card another birdie. Starting the back nine off hot. 2 in a row. Good par save from Brian there.
Elkinen saving his par. Still have one player under par on the card, but that player is now Elliott Bautel.
It's got to be the Fedora.
It's got to be the Fedora, no doubt about it. Moving on now, hole number 12, 356 feet. It's a par 3 playing back in the opposite direction, so we're going back into the wind here. That cart path there, everything on or right of that cart path is out of bounds. So given the location of that tee pad, this out of bounds line definitely restricting the options our players have at their disposal.
Yeah, it looks like the best play is kind of a straight to hyzer shot right down the path and just have it fade at the end.
As you can see also, it's a blind shot as the disc comes into the area around the basket. So Elliott just beautifully crests the hill and drifts right down towards the basket.
Good ground play.
Here's Chance.
Hanging it out over the OB, trusting the stability of that disc to come back. And just barely, but it does.
Well done for Elliott. No, excuse me, that was Chance. Well done for Chance. Now Ilkin Grow, the power forehand.
That works. It seems like a more risky line to take given that the disc is fading towards the OB and the slope is also going towards the OB. But what do I know? I don't have a good forehand.
That young man, a U.S. amateur champion. I trust his judgment. Brian Wilson into about 50 feet and now Chance.
Scary putt to run with that slope, but he gave it a chance. No pun intended.
I knew we were going to run into one of those at some point during the course of this round. Here's Brian. Just low. Elliott.
Ooh, I thought it was high, but it snuck in there under the band.
In from 40 plus for his third birdie in a row.
Starting the back nine with a turkey. Look at you, Elliott.
Ilkin Grow now.
Beautiful.
Stepping that putt in from just outside the circle.
Disc definitely left his hand before his foot hit the ground there.
No doubt about it. Impressed, by the way, with Ilkin's maturity both as a champion and in just sort of dealing with the fact that, in slow motion, with the gift of technology in slow motion, you can question sometimes where discs may have gone out of bounds. You can question foot faults. You can question a lot of things. In real time, things are obviously a little bit different. Ilkin has really handled everything with a lot of class and has come here sort of unfazed and ready to keep competing.
And his gameplay today is definitely showcasing that.
Well, number 13 plays back in the general direction of that very first tee pad. As a matter of fact, plays the opposite direction over that same sort of ravine area, 312 feet, decidedly uphill this time. All of that sort of shul area out of bounds.
And as you can see there, the basket's only a good, 12, 15 feet past the end of the OB there.
Right of the cart path also out of bounds, so a really small landing area for these players to contend with.
And then the difficulty is you make sure you miss the OB, you play a little long, but then you're putting back at the OB. So do you want to take more of a risk on the drive or the putt? It's up to you.
Elliott will face just such a putt. Ilkin trying to use that power to spike a disc in tight and manages to do so.
Showing yet again how power benefits players not only on long holes, but on holes where they can shape shots differently than most of the field.
Chance with kind of a, I don't know if you'd call that a wind bounce, but that disc looked like it was well clear of that scrub area until just the last possible moment.
Yeah, and I believe it actually was, and that's what the card decided, so they gave him his lie up there on the green, which I do believe was the correct call. Ooh, and that one barely getting over.
Brian just by feet safe. Here's Chance now taking that relief.
And he's actually not out. He was just taking his relief there. Elliott focusing. Scary putt right here. Ooh.
He's putting very confidently right now. That's 4 in a row.
Yep, Ilkin taps in for birdie.
Ilkin's routine in these, just about any putt inside the circle, step up, throw it.
Yep.
You were on camera today. Did you ever have any trouble getting set before Ilkin?
I noticed his putting habits early on, so I just kind of made sure to be in position early for his in the circle putts.
Oh dear.
No. Maybe some grip issues there for Brian.
It was definitely, at this point in the round, the heat was beginning to take its toll on the players. They weren't shy about mentioning how hot it was. The wind kind of died down later in the round as well, so there went any benefit from a little bit of a breeze. And so these players grinding it out over the course of the back half of this back nine. Our players facing the last of 4 par 4s here at the Princeton Country Club. This 724 feet plays around a Mando here on the left. Also an out of bounds area on the left. And those two features will come into play here in just a few moments. Difficult to get a level lie up this fairway. All the players dealing with side hill or uphill lies as you come into this particular basket.
Yeah, like I said, in the front nine as well, definitely a feature of this course in general is that elevation change, which, like you said, not only makes shot shaping more difficult, but footing as well.
Elliott trying to play very, very safe up the right side.
The more power you have, the more you can afford to play safe and still reach the green on your second shot on this hole.
Indeed. He'll have a longer second shot, but that's the trade-off as Ilkin.
That slipped out of his hand early, and you can see that white mark there on that tree. That is the Mando tree, which he has gone to the left of. He has missed the Mando, and he will proceed to the drop zone.
Chance Stad now gets that nose up a lot higher than he wanted to. And
fading towards the Mando, does not miss the Mando, but goes out of bounds. That hillside there is out of bounds, but so he does not get to play from the drop zone. He has to play from where he crossed OB, which pinches off his line a lot more than the drop zone would.
No surprise here to see Brian play safely and getting a considerable amount of distance also on all of his card mates. He'll have the easiest approach.
That was one of Brian's best drives of the round. That was beautiful.
No doubt about it.
A little bit wide from Elliott. Fading back. Yeah, puts him in circle 2 somewhere. 45 feet maybe.
Here's Chance taking his relief off of that little corner of out of bounds there.
And you can see the drop zone there, and you can kind of see where the green is up towards the left of those white buildings, so you can see how pinched off he is here. He also kind of threw not a stable disc enough for that line. And that actually ends up out of bounds, which really surprised me. There's a small marked off OB area there that's like a ball golf tee area.
Correct.
Ilkin from the drop zone. Great up. He's going to save his par.
I'm honestly not sure if Chance knew about that OB when he made that throw a few moments ago.
I don't think he knew about it. When he got up there and saw the painted line, he was surprised.
Yeah.
And here you can see the painted line. He was only OB by a few feet. And that's not a common type of OB that you see on disc golf courses that are on ball golf courses. You know, ball golf greens, ball golf bunkers are often OB or hazard, but ball golf tees are not usually marked off OB. I was surprised as well.
Elliott still riding the birdie train.
What a putt. Look at that. He has birdied every hole on the back nine so far. Feeling confident. Love that.
Chance stops the bleeding
with a no chains putt from band to bucket. The course was pretty mean to him with those OB strokes. It's only fair that it was kind to him on the putt.
Ilkin once again saving a par after an OB stroke. He's done that several times today.
And Brian with a tap-in birdie. 2 beautiful drives and makes easy work of that one. I feel like all these slow-mo highlights we're seeing are of Elliott over and over.
Well, they certainly have been so far during the course of this back nine.
As he deserves.
Well, number 15, a unique hole. This is a par 3, 478 feet, playing around a very tight sort of corner of out of bounds. All of this brush and foliage here on the left, all playing out of bounds, and then sharply downhill. In a favorable wind, I think this basket is more than reachable, even by players that don't have tremendous distance. But today, in the conditions, this basket all but unreachable, even for some of the longer throwers. So it's a par 3, but playing today, definitely more like a par 4, and even a hard one to get at that as Elliott steps up. Catching that early tree, but landing safe. Brian now looking to correct. Certainly did not mean to throw the disc that low. As we mentioned before, with the wind dying down as it did at this point in the round, all of the players dealing with grip issues, despite their best efforts. Ilkin now with the power to go up and around.
And he has gone long out of bounds. I didn't even know that was possible on this hole with the shape of it.
Clearly had the power to get at least pin high, maybe not enough of an angle possible to get up by the basket, but nevertheless, he'll take another OB stroke as Chance now steps up. Just in bounds there.
Yeah, that's a real close one. I think he's in bounds by maybe a foot.
Despite being short, Elliott with a flat lie, able to run up comfortably, but
oh no,
overcooks it.
Yeah, this hole definitely has teeth.
Brian a little timid on that one, not surprising.
Perhaps watching the throw before him and making sure the same thing didn't happen to him, overcompensating a bit.
Chance not out of bounds, taking his allowed meter of relief from the OB line.
Which has to be perpendicular since he was not out of bounds. He cannot take it in any direction. That was a good bid. And it sat before going OB, so what more can you ask for?
So much the better. Chance falling a little bit behind the rest of his card mates at this point.
That was a good bid. I'm continually impressed by how far Ilkin can jump putt.
Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned before, he says that in the 100-foot range, he's running just about everything.
Even when it's for bogey, it's another good putt from Elliott.
He knew that one was important, too. You don't want to give back all of those strokes.
Of course, if there is a hole to bogey on the back nine, it is this one. It averages 0.4 strokes over par, the hardest hole on the back nine, the third hardest hole on the day. You can see why.
I'll be honest, I thought it would average even more over par than that. As I mentioned before, though, earlier in the day, the wind was up a little bit, and if that wind was more favorable, maybe it allowed players to get around that corner just a little bit further.
And perhaps these four players I'm about to mention played earlier in the day. This hole had only 4 birdies on the day, 478-foot par 3, birdied by Chad Jackson, Dan Miller, Jacob Mao, and Matthew Viverito. My apologies if I mispronounced some of those, but great birdies, guys.
Well done. Better you than me. As we move on to hole number 16, 376 feet, another par 3 in this line of mostly par 3s so far on the back nine. Lots of out of bounds to contend with on this hole. The Gulf fairway there to the left is OB on this particular hole. The path and beyond on the right, also OB. The hole sort of pinching down, sort of a leaf shape or maybe a diamond shape. So the closer you get to the basket, the tighter the OB lines come in on either side.
Chance playing out to the right, fading back in. Easily safe, but also quite short.
Here's Elliott now. Wants to get back on the birdie train.
Oh, no.
Absolutely no turn on that disc.
It's a risky play. It didn't look like it was an early release. It looked like he was playing for like that Heiser flip line down over the ball golf fairway, but given that that's all OB, that's a high-risk shot. And as you saw, he went OB, and he crossed pretty far back.
Brian Wilson overcorrecting and going OB to the right. So now Ilkin Grow with an opportunity to pick up a stroke or more on his card mates.
Ooh, that almost skipped in. Wow.
From the tee box, the players all believe that disc tinked off the edge of the basket. It looks like maybe it didn't, but it sure looked like it did.
It was very close, yeah. Our catch cam Keenan confirmed that it did not quite hit the basket. And there we see Elliott going OB again, unfortunately.
He had to take his relief pretty far back. So all of those birdies early in the back nine coming right back off the scorecard now for Elliott.
I mean, at least he did cross inbounds up by the basket on that second shot, so he'll get to take it up there. But, I mean, double OB is never fun.
Brian not really going for that putt. He'll settle for a bogey here in a moment. Here's Chance Stad.
Oh, so close. Here's Elliott trying to save a double. Oh, man, his putt's been so good all day, but when you have to save a double bogey, there's just a different kind of pressure on that putt.
So he'll take a triple and drop all the way down to even par. Meanwhile, Ilkin steps up, calmly buries the birdie putt, and all of a sudden we have a new leader on the card. Chance with a par.
Man, I feel for Elliott. What a start to the back nine. 5 birdies in a row, and then he goes bogey, triple bogey. Finding the most exciting possible way to shoot even with almost no pars.
There's your new leader, Ilkin Groh. A simple hyzer, a simple birdie putt. And now the box for Ilkin on this 17th hole here at the Princeton Country Club, 326 feet. A par 3 playing uphill and then around to the left. The cart path, by the way, inbounds.
And beyond the cart path, also inbounds. Yep.
Ball golf green there to the left, out of bounds, as all green complexes are here at the Princeton Country Club. Ilkin now dealing with the low ceiling, which I think is more of a factor when you're as tall as he is. No doubt about it.
True. And he crushed that.
Wow. I initially thought that disc landed somewhere near the cart path and then rolled, but he put it back there in the air.
Yeah. Good line, just too much juice on it. Looked like Chance was going for the intentional skip off of the cart path there. I'm not sure if he was, but I mean, if it had hit the cart path, that flare would have probably been pretty good. Unfortunately, it did not hit the cart path.
You can see from the angle the players have this a blind shot. The drone footage from early on didn't reveal that. These players trying to find an aiming point and drift the disc down to where they know the basket is but can't see it.
Wow, look at that ground play.
Unbelievable. None of us saw that.
Yeah, Elliott had no idea that happened from the tee. He was expecting to walk up and see, a 60-footer, and instead he's parked. The course giveth and the course taketh.
Chance taking on the OB golf green.
Going a little long. And here's Ilkin from way downtown past the pin.
As uphill as this looks from this camera angle, it is even more uphill.
Oh, no. How rude. Oh, well, it stopped.
That was a pretty loose shot, honestly, from Ilkin. He missed his aim by quite a bit on that upshot. Here's Chance. Off the basket, but
didn't roll away.
Didn't roll away.
Those side hill putts are kind of scary for the rollaways when you hit basket.
Ilkin's just outside the circle putt today has been, I think, a little bit off. I can only recall him draining one of those. Meanwhile, Elliott, that's how you come back from a couple of disaster holes.
Still 0 pars on the back 9 for Elliott.
What a roller coaster. Everybody else taps in. Thankful now to be moving on to the final hole of the day. We have a tie at the top of the card again, by the way, between Elliott and Ilkin. We'll see if they can break that tie coming up on the lone par 5 here at the Princeton Country Club. Playing back into the wind if there is a breeze. As I mentioned before, the breeze sort of down here late in the day. 1,127 feet. Decidedly uphill to start. There is OB on both the right and left, but it's a very, very wide fairway. And we track our way sort of down in the direction of the pond. That basket you see there in the lower left, not the basket we're playing to. We are playing to this basket.
This is a great finishing hole, in my opinion. Big par 5 to finish. Kind of safer in the first half of the hole, as you mentioned, and then the OB pond at the end. Just aesthetically pleasing hole to finish on, and challenging.
I could see a bomber going for it in 2 with a favorable wind. Interestingly though, I can try to say words. The layup, no easy layup.
Yeah, given the undulations leading up to the pond, it's definitely the second half of this hole that is more interesting. That'll lead to some more scoring separation.
Elliott not trying to do too much on his drive, just placing it up on the flat. Here's Brian missing his line by a bit. That tree keeping him in bounds, though. The OB a bit further beyond those trees to the left.
And I actually mentioned earlier that hole 15 was the hardest hole on the back 9, and I realize now that I lied. Hole 18 is the hardest hole on the back 9, playing 0.6 strokes over par. A lot more people birdied it than did hole 15, but a lot more people took, bogeys, double bogeys or worse as well.
Ilkin showing off the distance there, getting up and over the flat. Here's Chance putting a really good move on the disc. That might be one of his better drives of the entire back 9. Brian Wilson now having come up short. A layup sort of a given already on this hole, but
you got full flight on that one. That's a good flex shot.
Chance now. You can see a layup is still a power shot. Matter of fact, it's difficult really to call it a layup unless you're a bit further up the fairway. You're throwing pretty much a full power shot to this low-lying area. Of course, the downside about this low-lying area is you actually have to play uphill to get over the pond, which is unusual.
He should be able to get across from there, no problem.
Gets to play sort of flat across the pond. Now Ilkin, he lasered this shot. I don't know how much he was considering actually going for it. I think maybe if the wind had been a little different, because that layup for Ilkin was decidedly a layup. It was just a little chip. He has the distance in the bag to go for the basket, but I don't know that you take that risk on day one.
Here's Brian going for the green and making it. And down in that ditch where he was at, he was actually blind. I was up the hill behind him to be able to see the green. Chance wanting no part in trying to clear the water from back there in the ditch.
That little hill in front of him, a lot steeper than it looks on camera, he would have had to put that shot very nose up. I actually walked down and looked at it just to get some idea of his decision there. And it's a shot that I probably wouldn't go for either, honestly.
Yeah. Same distance without the ditch, he probably would have gone
Sure,
for it. But it's
exactly.
like forcing that uphill shot, it's just going to stall out and end up in the water unless you have elite level power.
Elliott now able to go wide, catching the tree, but not really hurting him too much. The putt would have been a fairly similar putt either way there. And Ilkin, he missed that.
Yeah, looked like it slipped out of his hand a little. I mean, as we've mentioned a few times, the heat and everything, I think players were having some grip issues. I would chalk it up to that.
So Ilkin thought he'd have a tap in for birdie here on the par 5. Now with this.
Just a little bit left side, like you were saying, a lot of his step putts today.
Never able to connect from outside the circle today.
Perhaps a byproduct of trying to rework that step putt slightly.
Brian Wilson, he'll take a par here at the last. Here's Elliott now with an opportunity to take the solo lead off of the card.
Come on, Elliott. Perfect. Right in the heart. Finishes with a birdie and finishes the back 9 with 0 pars.
A really solid putting day for Elliott Bautel. Oh, Chance.
He's ready to get off the course.
Chance was really candid about how much he was struggling with the heat. He's from Canada. He said this heat is unlike anything that he's used to playing in. He's got several more events in the coming weeks. He knows some of them are likely to be hot, and he talked about hoping he can get used to the heat here during these events that he's got coming up. I hope he got a good night's sleep and a lot of water last night.
We'll take one last look at Elliott's beautiful birdie putt here on the 18th.
With this putt, Elliott actually moved up about 20 positions. He was in a tie for 57th until he made that putt. That moved him up to a tie for 37th.
As you can see here are leaders from the A pool. The top 4 names on this list will be on our feature card for tomorrow, the second round. That is Paul Kranz, Peyton Stamen, Ricky Ovate, and Chase Steed.
The B pool played Mesker Woods here in round 1. Alex Baker with an 8 under par round, rated out in the 990s. Daniel McNeil shot 7 under. Matthew Curtis, Bobcat Buckley, and Torrey McLean all playing their way into contention here from the B pool. We'll see if they can stay in contention after tomorrow's round 2. Thanks for watching coverage of round 1 at the PDGA Amateur World Championships.